She just murdered her mother. Now she's texting her friends. Emergency. I need someone to come over right now. This isn't fiction. This is Carly Gregg, age 14. And when police arrested her, she was smiling. Across America, a disturbing pattern has emerged. Teenage girls committing acts of violence so brutal, so calculated, that seasoned detectives struggle to comprehend what they're seeing. But here's what makes these cases truly haunting: the complete absence of remorse. No tears, no guilt. Just cold, empty stares, and, in some cases, laughter. Tonight, you'll meet 6 young killers whose crimes will shatter any illusions about childhood innocence. A girl who described murder as pretty enjoyable in her diary. 4 teenagers who tortured their victim for hours, then smiled in court. A 17-year-old who deliberately crashed her car at 100 miles per hour, killing 2 people, then posted celebratory videos on social media days later. Behind each crime is a life destroyed: mothers, children, friends, whose futures were stolen in moments of incomprehensible violence. These aren't crimes of passion or accidents gone wrong. These are deliberate acts of cruelty by girls who felt nothing. The question that haunts investigators, psychologists, and families alike: what creates a teenage killer with no conscience? The answers will disturb you. But these stories deserve to be told, and these victims deserve to be remembered. If you believe cases like these need more attention, subscribe now. Your support helps us continue bringing these important stories to light. March 19, 2024. Brandon, Mississippi. 14-year-old Carly Gregg has a problem. Her mother, Ashley Smiley, just found out about the marijuana and burner phone secrets a concerned friend felt compelled to reveal. That afternoon, home security cameras capture something horrifying. Carly walks through the house, a handgun concealed behind her back. Moments later, 3 gunshots ring out. Ashley Smiley, a 40-year-old math teacher beloved by her students, lies dead in her bedroom, shot twice in the face at point-blank range by her own daughter. But Carly isn't panicking. She isn't crying. She's reaching for her phone. Within minutes, Carly texts 6 different friends. The message is urgent. Emergency. I need someone to come over right now. One friend offers to call 911. Carly declines. She doesn't want help. She wants an audience. Finally, one friend agrees to come. When she arrives at the door, Carly greets her with an unsettling calmness and a bizarre question. Are you squeamish around dead bodies? Before the friend can process what's happening, Carly leads her through the house to her mother's bedroom. There, Ashley's body lies in a pool of blood. The friend freezes in horror. Carly watches her reaction with cold fascination, then casually mentions her stepfather is next. The friend flees. Carly waits. About 45 minutes after killing her mother, Heath Smiley arrives home from work. He walks through the door expecting a normal evening. Instead, his stepdaughter ambushes him, firing multiple shots. One bullet strikes his shoulder. Heath, despite his injury, manages to wrestle the gun away and escape. Police arrive to a scene that makes no sense. This isn't a crime of passion. This is something calculated, deliberate. The girl sitting in the patrol car shows no distress, no remorse, no recognition of what she's done. Months later, the courtroom becomes a theater of horrors. As prosecutors present evidence, surveillance footage, crime scene photos, testimony about Ashley's final moments, Carly giggles. She smirks. She appears, at times, amused by the proceedings. Psychiatric evaluations find her legally sane. The jury watches, disturbed by the disconnect between the baby-faced teenager before them and the empty coldness in her eyes. Verdict: guilty of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and tampering with evidence. Life in prison without parole. The question that haunts everyone who followed the case: Why did Carly need a witness? What compelled her to invite someone over to view her mother's corpse? Was it pride, validation, or something far darker? Carly's need for an audience was chilling. But in West Virginia, two teenage best friends would take performance to a whole new level, pretending to grieve their missing friend on social media while knowing exactly where her body was hidden. They didn't just kill her, they made mourning her part of the act. Skylar Neese's parents welcomed her two best friends into their home with open arms. Rachel and Shelia ate at their dinner table, slept at their house, laughed in their living room. When Skylar vanished, those same two girls cried the hardest, searched the longest, and promised they'd never stop looking. They were the only ones who knew exactly where she was, because they'd put her there. Summer night. Skylar sneaks out her bedroom window to meet Rachel and Shelia, just like she's done countless times before. Best friends since middle school. The three of them are inseparable. Tonight's plan: drive around, get high, talk about boys and college dreams. Nothing unusual, nothing to fear. Skylar climbs into the back seat, completely unaware this is the last car ride of her life. They drive deep into Pennsylvania woods, far from anyone who might hear screaming. The girls get out, stretch their legs, light up. Everything feels normal until Rachel and Shelia move behind Skylar in perfect coordination. They count together: 1, 2, 3. Both girls pull knives and plunge them into their best friend's back. Skylar's scream pierces the darkness. She tries to run, confused, terrified, still not understanding why Rachel and Shelia are doing this. Rachel tackles her to the ground. The stabbing continues. Over 50 wounds. Skylar stops calling for help and starts begging, pleading with the two people she trusts most to please. Please, stop. They don't stop until she's silent. The girls cover the body with branches, wipe blood off their hands, and drive home. The next morning, they wake up to frantic calls Skylar's missing. Can they help search? Of course they can. For months, Rachel and Shelia become fixtures at the Neese household. They distribute missing person flyers. They comfort Skylar's sobbing mother. Shelia calls every single day, voice breaking with manufactured concern. She posts on social media, "Rest easy, Skylar. You'll always be my best friend." Skylar's father holds Shelia while she cries, genuinely believing this girl is devastated by his daughter's disappearance. The performance is flawless until Rachel's guilt becomes unbearable. She suffers a breakdown and finally confesses. Police ask the question burning in everyone's mind: why did you kill your best friend? Rachel's answer is almost worse than the murder itself. We just didn't like her. No betrayal. No secret worth killing over. No dramatic motive. They simply found Skylar annoying, planned her murder during science class, and executed it without hesitation. Authorities find Skylar's remains exactly where Rachel said they'd be. Both girls are arrested. Rachel gets 30 years. Shelia receives life with parole eligibility after 15 years. Skylar's mother still remembers holding Shelia while she sobbed about missing her daughter. The daughter Shelia had stabbed 50 times and left rotting in the woods. The cruelty wasn't just the murder. It was the performance afterward, the calculated comfort, the fake tears, the tweets mourning a girl they killed because she was mildly irritating. That level of deception requires something broken beyond repair. Rachel and Shelia's motive was disturbingly petty. They just didn't like her. But in Missouri, another 15-year-old would commit murder for an even more chilling reason. She wanted to experience what killing felt like. Rachel and Shelia killed because they didn't like their friend, a petty, trivial reason that somehow justified murder in their minds. Alyssa Bustamante's motive was even more disturbing. She wanted to know what killing felt like, and unlike Rachel and Shelia's impulsive attack, Alyssa spent days preparing. The woods behind her house in Cole County, Missouri, the same woods where neighborhood kids played hide and seek, where families took evening walks, became something else in Alyssa's hands. She dug 2 deep holes among the trees, carefully covering them with branches and leaves. Then she went home, ate dinner with her family, and waited. For 5 days, those graves sat empty. 9-year-old Elizabeth Olton lived just down the street. Blonde hair, bright smile, the kind of kid who waved at neighbors and fed stray cats. That evening, she begged her mom to let her visit a friend's house. Her mother hesitated, it was getting dark, but eventually agreed. Elizabeth had walked that forest path dozens of times. What could happen? The little girl skipped into the trees, humming to herself, probably thinking about what games she'd play when she arrived. Maybe she noticed how quiet the woods were. Maybe she heard footsteps behind her and thought nothing of it. Maybe she never saw Alyssa coming at all. What followed was methodical and merciless. Strangling, a blade across her throat, stabbing, again and again. Elizabeth's small body fought, then went still. Alyssa dragged her to one of the waiting graves and buried her. Then, she walked home, washed up, and acted like nothing happened. When Elizabeth didn't arrive at her friend's house, panic spread fast. Her mother called everyone. Neighbors formed search parties, flashlights cutting through the darkness, voices shouting Elizabeth's name into the void. The community searched for 2 agonizing days, while that little girl lay hidden in the forest. Alyssa joined the search. She stood beside Elizabeth's frantic mother, offering hollow comfort, watching the chaos she'd created with detached fascination. Police grew suspicious of the teenage neighbor who seemed too calm, too curious about investigative procedures. They obtained a warrant for Alyssa's room and found her diary. The entry from that night had been scribbled over, but forensic teams recovered the words underneath. "I just killed someone. I strangled them and slit their throat and stabbed them. It was amazing." As soon as you get over the, "oh my God, I can't do this" feeling, it's pretty enjoyable. Gotta go to church now, lol. She described murdering a child the way someone might review a movie. Enjoyable, amazing, then added, lol, before leaving for youth group. During interrogation, Alyssa admits everything without emotion. Why did she kill Elizabeth? She wanted to know what it felt like. That's the entire reason. Elizabeth wasn't an enemy or a rival. She was an experiment. The diary entry is read aloud in court. Elizabeth's family collapses into sobs. Alyssa stares ahead blankly, unmoved by their grief, untouched by the magnitude of what she's taken from the world. Life in prison, with the possibility of parole. Her first hearing gets denied. She'll remain behind bars until at least 2029. Elizabeth's mother still has the outfit her daughter was wearing that night, the clothes she never made it home in. Somewhere in Alyssa's mind, a switch that controls empathy, remorse, and basic humanity simply doesn't exist. And that's what makes her so terrifying. She didn't kill out of rage or fear. She killed out of curiosity, as casually as someone might open a book to see how it ends. One girl murdering alone is horrifying. But when multiple teenage girls feed off each other's cruelty, when they validate and escalate each other's darkest impulses, the results become unspeakable. 4 girls in Indiana would prove this in a night of torture so brutal, it remains one of the most disturbing crimes in American history. When cruelty has an audience, when multiple minds validate each other's darkest impulses, the violence doesn't just multiply, it transforms into something unrecognizable as human. 12-year-old Shanda Scherer's only crime was dating a girl named Amanda Hevron. Amanda's ex-girlfriend, 16-year-old Melinda Loveless, couldn't let it go. Jealousy consumed her, twisted her, turned her into something monstrous. But Melinda didn't act alone. She recruited 3 other girls, 17-year-old Lori Tackett, and 15-year-olds Hope Rippey and Tony Lawrence. 3 of them had never even met Shanda. Didn't matter. They agreed to help anyway. On the night of January 10, 1992, The four girls showed up at Shanda's father's house in Jeffersonville, Indiana. They told Shanda that Amanda wanted to see her. Excited, trusting, Shanda got into the car. She had no idea she was climbing into a vehicle with her killers. What followed was 7 hours of hell. They drove Shanda to a remote trash dump near a logging road, deep in the woods where screams wouldn't carry. The torture began immediately. They stripped her, beat her with their fists, strangled her until she passed out, then revived her to continue. Melinda punched her in the stomach, kneed her in the mouth. They stabbed her repeatedly. Sexually assaulted her. Shanda begged for her life, begged for her mother, promised she'd never speak to Amanda again. The girls laughed. At one point, they stopped at a fast food restaurant, leaving Shanda bound and bleeding in the trunk, ordered food, and ate while discussing what to do with her next. Then they went back to torturing her. For 7 hours, Shanda endured unimaginable agony, while 4 teenage girls took turns inflicting pain, encouraging each other, competing to see who could be crueler. When they finally tired of the torture, they made their final decision. They poured gasoline over Shanda's broken body and set her on fire while she was still breathing. The next morning, hunters discovered the charred remains. Shanda was burned so badly she could only be identified through dental records. The 4 girls were arrested within days. During questioning, they showed no remorse. In court, some smiled, some laughed. They treated the trial like an inconvenience, not a reckoning for murdering a 12-year-old child over a middle school relationship. All 4 were convicted. Melinda Loveless received 60 years. The others received sentences ranging from 20 to 60 years. Over time, all 4 have been released on parole walking free, while Shanda remains forever 12, forever burned, forever silenced. Shanda's mother still can't comprehend how 4 girls' children themselves could spend 7 hours torturing her daughter and feel nothing, no moment of clarity, no surge of conscience. Just sustained, collaborative cruelty that only ended when Shanda's body finally gave out. The question haunts her. If they could do this together, what were they each capable of alone? Group cruelty is terrifying because responsibility diffuses, allowing each person to rationalize their role. But in Ohio, a 17-year-old girl would commit double murder entirely on her own, and her weapon of choice wasn't a knife or a gun. It was a car, driven at lethal speed directly into a wall. Group violence allows perpetrators to hide behind shared blame. Mackenzie Sherilla had no such cover. She was alone when she made her decision, alone when she accelerated to lethal speed, alone when she aimed for the wall. 2 weeks before the crash, Mackenzie threatened to do exactly what she eventually did. She was driving on Interstate 71 with her boyfriend, Dominic Russo, when an argument erupted. "I'll crash this car," she told him. Terrified, Dominic called his mother from the passenger seat, begging for help. His mom talked them both down. Crisis averted. Except it wasn't. Dominic stayed with Mackenzie despite the threat, despite the toxicity, despite every warning sign screaming at him to leave. Maybe he thought she didn't mean it. Maybe he believed love could fix whatever darkness lived inside her. He was 20 years old, and still learning that some people can't be saved. Early morning, July 31st, 2022. Mackenzie's Toyota Camry barrels through the empty streets of Strongsville, Ohio. In the passenger seat sits Dominic. In the back, their mutual friend Davion Flanagan, 19 years old. Neither of them know these are their final moments. Surveillance footage captures what happens next in horrifying detail. Mackenzie accelerates to 100 miles per hour on a residential street. No braking, no swerving. She aims the car directly at a brick building and floors it. The impact is catastrophic. Metal crumples. Glass explodes. The car becomes a tomb. Emergency responders arrive to find 3 bodies trapped in the wreckage. Mackenzie, behind the wheel, is rushed to the hospital with critical injuries. Dominic and Davion are pronounced dead at the scene. The crash looks like a tragic accident until investigators review the surveillance footage. The deliberate acceleration, the straight trajectory, the complete absence of defensive driving. This wasn't a mistake. This was execution. Mackenzie survives her injuries and, within weeks, is posting on social media. She attends concerts in a wheelchair, makes TikTok videos, celebrates holidays with friends. Prosecutors later used this footage, her dancing at Halloween parties, smiling at concerts, as evidence of her shocking lack of remorse. No posts mourning Dominic, no acknowledgement of Davion, just selfies and celebration while two families bury their sons. At trial, surveillance footage plays on repeat. The jury watches Mackenzie accelerate deliberately into that wall, killing the boy who loved her and the friend who trusted her. The verdict: guilty of murder. The judge calls her hell on wheels during sentencing. 2 concurrent life sentences with the possibility of parole after 15 years. Dominic had called his mother for help 2 weeks earlier, terrified of Mackenzie's threats. His mom saved him that day. But she couldn't save him from the girl who promised to love him, then murdered him because she couldn't control him. Davion wasn't even part of their relationship drama. He was just in the wrong car, at the wrong time. Collateral damage in Mackenzie's need for ultimate control. American cases dominate these headlines. But across the Atlantic, the United Kingdom produced a teenage killer whose brutality shocked even seasoned investigators. At just 12 years old, she committed a murder so violent, so sexually depraved, that it redefined what people thought children were capable of. Mackenzie killed with a vehicle. The others used knives or guns. Sharon Carr, at 12 years old, chose something far more intimate: her bare hands and a blade, used together in an attack so savage and sexual that it haunted investigators for decades. June 1992. Camberley, Surrey, England. Katie Ratcliffe, 18 years old, apprentice hairdresser, with dreams of opening her own salon, walks home from a nightclub. It's late. The streets are quiet. She's been down this route countless times. She has no reason to fear. A 12-year-old girl watches her from the shadows. Sharon Carr follows Katie into the darkness and attacks with shocking ferocity, stabbing her 32 times with a 6-inch knife. The wounds target Katie's ribs, her heart, her genitals. This isn't just murder. This is something twisted, violent, and deeply disturbed. Katie's body is discovered the next morning. Police are stunned by the brutality, the sexual nature of the wounds, the sheer number of stab wounds. They're looking for an adult male predator, possibly with military training. They're not looking for a child. The case goes cold. Sharon returns to her normal life, attending school, hanging out with friends, writing in her diary. No one suspects the quiet 12-year-old girl with the shy smile. Why would they? 2 years later, on June 7, 1994, the exact anniversary of Katie's murder, Sharon attacks another student at Collingwood College. She stabs 13-year-old Anne-Marie Clifford in the back in the school bathroom, puncturing her lung. This time there are witnesses. Police arrest Sharon immediately. While awaiting trial, Sharon tries to strangle 2 nurses at the assessment center. She's violent, aggressive, uncontrollable. Authorities search her belongings and find her diary. The entries are horrifying. Sharon had been boasting about Katie's murder for 2 years, writing about it in graphic detail, confessing to friends and family, bragging about how it felt. She described the attack with pride, relived it with pleasure, fantasized about doing it again. DNA evidence links her conclusively to Katie's murder. During sentencing, the judge notes the sexual motive behind the attack, the calculated brutality, the complete absence of humanity. Sharon Carr becomes Britain's youngest female murderer. Sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 12 years. She's 14 years old at sentencing. But even behind bars, Sharon's violence continues. She assaults staff, attacks other inmates, writes letters fantasizing about killing again, describing in detail how she'd torture her next victim. Parole is repeatedly denied. She remains incarcerated today, decades later, still considered too dangerous for release. Katie Ratcliffe was simply walking home a route she knew, a night like any other. She couldn't have known that a 12-year-old child was hunting her, that her final moments would be filled with unimaginable pain inflicted by someone who hadn't even reached puberty. Sharon's diary revealed the most disturbing truth. She didn't kill out of anger or fear. She killed because she enjoyed it, and given the chance, she would do it again. 6 cases. 6 lives destroyed by girls who felt nothing. Carly Gregg, giggling as prosecutors described how she murdered her mother, Rachel and Shelia, crying fake tears while knowing exactly where their best friend's body lay. Alyssa, writing, "lol," after describing a child's murder as enjoyable. 4 girls spending 7 hours torturing Shanda, then smiling in court. Mackenzie, dancing at parties while families buried the boys she killed. Sharon, fantasizing about her next victim from behind bars. Different methods, different victims, but the same hollow stare where remorse should be. What creates a killer with no conscience? That's the question that keeps investigators awake at night. Because understanding these cases isn't just about looking back. It's about recognizing the warning signs before the next tragedy happens. The uncomfortable truth is that cases like these are increasing, not disappearing, and the more we ignore them, the more victims suffer in silence. If these stories left you unsettled, disturbed, or searching for answers, you're not alone. Subscribe and join thousands of others trying to make sense of the unthinkable. Because awareness is the first step toward prevention, and these victim stories are too important to forget.